Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl again, Queen at DBC, aka Junebug. On today's episode, I have with me here Miss Maria Onosoya. My bad, my baby girl is not married. Mrs. Maria. We have to put some respect on that name. What do you think? So today, Maria is going to be talking to us about cancer. As we all know, like in the UK now, we have over 166,000 deaths. So Maria right here is a cancer survivor, and she's going to lecture us and share her experiences with cancer with us today. So over to you, Maria. So let's talk, like, how did you find out that you had cancer? Because I've heard stories about people, going to the hospitals with just headaches and boom, they've been diagnosed. So how did you find out you had cancer?
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me into the show.
Oh,
it's a privilege, and it's like I just have to big you up and say thank you guys for having me here. It's a wonderful experience.
We're so glad to have you.
So yeah, it was basically so I found out I had cancer when I was 14. I was in high school. So at that period, I was quite athletic. So I was into sports. I used to do a lot of running. So I was quite sports. I was doing a lot of sport. So it was a case of I had, it was like a pain in my leg. So it was like a lump of pain. And I remember obviously letting my mom know that it's getting quite painful and it's affecting my day-to-day activities. So she told me to book an appointment to go to my GP and have it checked out. And my GP was quite aware that I was quite a sporty, active young lady, so he probably said, oh, it's down to sports injury, take some painkillers and you'll be fine. So being 14, 15, not really having a care in the world and far from thinking it was cancer or anything like that. So I just carried on living my day-to-day life, but I realized as weeks went on, the lump was getting bigger, it was getting more painful. But on the other hand, because I was still quote unquote healthy, I wasn't losing any weight or, there wasn't any abnormal symptoms like bellyache or backache. It was just the pain in my leg that would come and would go. And if I did something too excessive like basketball or I went for a jog, I'll feel the pain. But apart from that, there was no other symptoms. So there was a particular Friday after basketball. The pain got really, really bad. I remember I was crying so much. And my mom told my sister that, okay, this is getting ridiculous. The GP, isn't attending to the pain classes isn't working. Take it to the A&E. So we went to A&E after they did a few they did x-rays and a few like CT scans and whatnot. And they were still really wasn't sure what it was, but not to my knowledge anyway. And then they said we have to go to Birmingham. There's a specialist children's hospital in Birmingham where they'll do a biopsy of the lump in my leg to confirm what it was. Still again, being 14, 15, I had no idea. Everything kind of went over my head. Yeah, I was experiencing it, but obviously I wasn't actively in it because you don't think anything about cancer at that age. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I'm only 14 and I'm quite active. So I went to Birmingham with my mom and then we had the biopsy, and then I remember the consultant doing the ward round in the morning. It was actually a Nigerian surgeon, surprisingly, that did the biopsy. And then I remember I came with a load of junior doctors and was like, oh, we have to tell you that it's cancer. And I'm just like, sorry, what? At what age? And I remember just like, obviously just sat there still politely listening and, and it was like, oh, but thankfully we caught it early so we don't have to amputate. And I'm like, like.
At that age, like, what were you actually thinking, like, cancer?
It's still adding some kin, and I was like, okay, it's just words going over my head. I don't think I actually took the words in. I remember sitting on the bed cross-legged and my mom was sat next to me. And then it was like, okay, yeah, so basically, they determined what it is now, the tumor, and it was osteosarcoma. So osteosarcoma is a rare form of bone cancer that happens in young people and adults as well. So, and then it was like, luckily we don't have to amputate, it just requires chemotherapy. If she runs chemotherapy, surgery to remove the lump, and then replace. Because then the surgery involved removing the bone and then replacing it with prosthesis, and then hopefully that would take out majority of the tumor, and then go back and finish my chemotherapy to then kill off the remaining cancerous cell. So, all of that being said, and the left, and I just remember being sat on the bed and I was like, Mom, I'm scared, because it was like basically
everything happened so fast.
We found out now the best thing for you to go back to Manchester and go to your consultant and start treatment. I was like, oh my God, this is actually real. My mom just hugging me saying, don't worry, we'll get through this, and it's still, honestly, it was so surreal. I think up until the day that I was actually sat on the ward and then I was getting keyed up with the chemotherapy drip and everything, and I'm thinking, okay, so this is actually going to be not just my life. The sad part was going to be my family's life for the next few months, because obviously being the last child, my mom being a single mom, and I had my older sister, my older brother being the last born, so it was just surreal basically, and all I could just think of was, oh my God, I have to put my family through this. So for me, it automatically changed my mindset, because it wasn't just doing it for myself. I didn't want to let my family down either. So it was that, I think, automatic burden to say that, okay, let's be a champion about this. This is nothing.
How long did the treatment take? How long do you have to stay in the hospital for the chemotherapy? And
I think over about 9-10 months. So I would say
wow.
I was officially diagnosed in February, and I didn't kind of finish the main course of treatment till November. So it involved Monday to Friday going into hospital, having a chemo, staying in hospital, and then if my blood and everything was okay, then I was allowed to go home for the weekend, come back again on Monday, carrying the routine. Oh my God, like I said, it wasn't even me, it was my mom. Being in a children's hospital at 14 years old, having a bed, being on the ward, but then she being my mom, being the rock that she didn't want to leave my side, so she would literally sit next to my bed day and night, as in she wouldn't leave. She didn't even leave, she didn't want to. And my sister would literally come after work just to relieve her and keep us company and cook, and my brother would come straight from college. So everybody's life changed so quickly, and like a routine that we knew of Monday to Friday we'll be in the hospital. Saturday, hopefully I'll get to come home. Monday, back in again, do my bloods, get the chemo, and that was literally our routine for the next 9 months.
Oh my God. Did the doctor or consultant tell you anything like that, the main cause of cancer? Because up to I don't think they're able to find out any main cause of cancer. Like you said, you don't smoke, you be healthy, you're just 14 years old. So
no, at that time it was just what it was. It's an accumulation of cells, and eventually turned into a tumor. Obviously those are like the wrong cells for your body, and your body starts attacking itself, not to go deep medically or try to say there's a particular cause. It was just one of those things that happened. And I remember my mom making a statement, because she was speaking to another parent on the board, and then it was like, she said, if not you also did, because this is what you can't wish this on your worst enemy.
Yes.
It's that kind of situation that unfortunately it's like, why me? But you can't say why somebody else. You can't say why not.
Yeah.
So and so from down the road, like they said, God only gives his hardest battle to his strongest soldiers. So I think that was, there was definitely a reason and a cause for everything that happened. And even though it was a terrible, terrible thing to go through, a terrible journey, but I thank God that I was able to come up with testimonies, because there were so many young people that I started treatment with, and unfortunately they didn't finish the treatment, or they finished the treatment and it still didn't work, and the cancer came back and they died, or they're not progressing in their life. And I'm just so thankful that I'm able to come here and sit down and speak. So it just almost it's just a natural thing to do, to just, as much as I can, wherever I can, use my voice as a platform to just talk about the importance of going for screenings and going for checks. And one thing I always say to everybody or anybody that asks me, that nobody knows your body better than you do.
Yes.
If you're feeling something does not feel right, a pain, a lump, don't be embarrassed. Go to your GP and keep on telling your GP until they do something about it. There's this thing, especially on social media, like, the black woman syndrome, or black people syndrome, where we're meant to be these strong people, able to take pain. For example, women in pregnancy or don't want epidural or strong, like, there's nothing wrong in asking for help, or there's nothing wrong with saying I'm in pain and where do I go? What can I use? Yeah, we believe in traditional medicine or drink agbo or drink this, and this is fine, but sometimes we also need to go medically and seek help and seek advice, and don't stop talking, because don't forget as well the differences biologically. If you go to a white doctor and a black doctor, being able to understand simple things about our body is very, very important. But if we choose not to be vocal about it, nothing gets done.
Exactly.
Because then they'll be like, oh, but it's only one black person that complaining about that, so it's nothing. But for example, if a white GP in a particular region has, 20 young black people or 20 black people in general coming and complaining about the same thing in the same region, it will make them think, oh, maybe let's listen. A particular patient that comes in and says, oh, this particular pain, my back hasn't gone, even though I've used ibuprofen twice a week, and 5 other people are complaining about the same thing or in the same region. Maybe it's time to start listening and not just fending off, saying it's one of those things.
I think, we people, we are fond of, oh, everything is gonna be fine.
Yeah.
And when the doctors tells us just use painkiller, we believe, painkillers. We don't usually, use our instincts, understanding the fact that we understand our body more and going over it. I just think like people should go and do more checkups, because many people don't like going to the hospitals and going to get tested and things like that. So I think, to be honest, regardless of the skin color or gender or age, like everyone should take their health seriously.
Definitely.
So ever since you've had this cancer, what have you been doing differently in terms of your lifestyle or your diet or exercise, or your impact, your thinking? Has that changed the way you were living before you were 14 after you had cancer? Does anything changes at all?
I think one of the things I can say is like being quite fortunate and being, I think, quite young when I had my cancer is I was still growing as an individual anyway. So I was still trying to figure out who I am and what I'm doing. And I had a few ideas of where I wanted to go in regards to life and how I'm living. But in regards to health and diet, it hasn't necessarily changed me. Yes, I'm more aware about what I put in my body. But I feel like regardless of having cancer or not, I feel that was just something that I would have done as a person anyway. Like, for example, at one point I was a vegan, I tried out veganism, or
did that work out for you?
Well, all I can say is every time I go back home to my mom's house and she cooks a four with shaki and smoked turkey, I can't say no.
That means you're out by God.
And my sister's always making fun of me about that, but when we're not home with my husband, we like to stick to a nice clean pescatarian diet. So things like we all eat prawns and fish, and we have mostly veg at home. But at the same time, because we've got a young son growing up, I don't want him to feel restricted in life and not explore. So the thing of when we go to the grandparents or family and friends, we still indulge in meat and stuff.
Oh, I love my meat.
But at home, we try to be more disciplined, but make it fun. So we still eat mackerel, fish, the occasional meat here and there. But I think just me as a person and my personal journey, just trying to keep it clean. As a female, you don't want to put too much weight. You want to keep it healthy,
exactly.
But keep it fun. So for me, I think that's more of a thing I'm aware of.
Yeah. And also, Maria here has been doing lots of researches as well to help fight cancer. So do you want to tell us a little bit how you've been, helping with the government with researches for cancer, to help fight cancer?
So basically, I work with a few researchers in London at the University College London Hospital, and basically what we do is we look at the effects of cancer on young people and quality of life, and how it's very important in regards to where a young person is treated. Are they treated on the children's ward, on the adults ward, or on the specialist unit, and how that affects the quality of life. And also in regards to cancer, it's all well and good having the right treatment, surgery, but also the other side of having cancer, the social aspect,
Yes.
the financial aspect. Imagine if you're a single mom, lots of it, and you get cancer.
Oh my God.
You have to stop working. Who pays the bills? How does that work? How do you navigate life, childcare, things of that nature? So that's also what Dr. Rachel and Dr. Lorna Fern, we look at things of that nature and speak to other young people. And the main thing that what I try to do is encourage other young people and people to come out and speak about their experiences, because then that's the only way we can build a platform to make better changes.
But did you have good experience in the hospital?
Well, like I said, although with my diagnosis, so when I was diagnosed at 14, and I went through the surgery, the chemo and everything, and thank God I was better. I went to college. I actually relapsed again in both lungs.
Wow.
So the tumor came back from both lungs, so I had to go through all of that again with the chemo and surgery. So when I was first treated, I was treated on the children's ward, and then when I relapsed, I was treated on a teenagers unit. So that was a better experience being around other young people my age. So that encouraged me to speak up more about, certain treatments and chemo, for example, the side effects I was experiencing, and, other questions like stuff you don't really want to ask your mom about, like cancer and fertility. Can I have children?
Yes, I was gonna ask that
Yeah.
question, because there's a lot of information out there. I don't know how true it is. Like, people who've been through cancer always have difficulties with fertility. So because now she's got like a handsome baby boy and a lovely husband, so she's happily married and she's really successful now. She's a strong lady, to be honest. So how was that experience? Like, did you have any difficulty when trying for baby or anything of that?
Thanks be to God, no, thankfully, I was able to get in a successful relationship with a man that I loved and truly loved me. And when the time came and wanted to start a family, thanks be to God, that wasn't an issue. But then again, speaking to other young people going through treatment, even the option, for example, of having your eggs frozen, who do you go to speak about that? Because that is an option that you can have.
Big one.
Exactly, young people going through treatment. I didn't have that option. I was only 14, 15. So on the other hand, it creates that question of appropriability. Stuff like fertility or sex. When do you introduce that to a young person? So those are the other questions that myself and Dr. Lorna and Dr. Rachel down in London look at. So apart from the looking at what causes cancer and the effects of cancer, which is very important research studies, we also look at that social and impact as well, that those questions that nobody really wants to talk about. So I'm involved in quite a lot of advisory groups, like for example Cancer Egg, that really looks at trying to infiltrate the Black and Asian community and encourage people to come and speak about their experiences, or with the research with Dr. Lorna, speaking to other young people and saying, okay, those embarrassing questions that you feel like you can't speak to your doctor or your consultant about in front of your parents.
Yeah.
How do you want to feel comfortable in conveying those messages to your consultant? Is it through an email? Do you want to go through a social worker? Do you want to ask a young person, or do you want to ask a person like myself that's going through treatment? How do you get across to myself? So that's why I'm always, like I said, creating platforms, thankfully also with people like you that are interested in knowing about cancer. Just because you haven't been through it doesn't mean you shut away, but it doesn't concern me. It's thankfully people like you with platforms like this also inviting people like myself to come in and speak about our experiences, so other young people and the adults can know that it's okay to reach out to people. And I'm always willing to talk about my experience, and how that helps other people, but then you also need to realize that you also need to talk about your experience.
You need to talk about your
the
experience.
good and the bad ones,
Yes.
because that's the only way it will help. It
Yes.
feels like, you know, a little drop in a river, but eventually the more questions that goes into that pool or into that pot, it becomes bigger and bigger. And then that way, as a society, we can't ignore it. We have to tackle those questions, we have to tackle those issues, and hopefully by speaking about it, we can create better solutions for the future. Because unfortunately, it's a reality that other people are going to get diagnosed with cancer. But hopefully by doing this and having these conversations now, we'll be able to create and streamline better treatments for them. So hopefully when they have to go through their cancer journey, it will be a bit easier, because all those little questions have been answered, or at least they'll be able to get the appropriate signposts and know where to go, which, you know, is very important.
Thank you so much for coming here. I really appreciate that so much. And to all our viewers out there, like she said, please come out and speak out, talk about your experience and what you think could be changed and what you think the government could work on, or what organization could work on as well. So thank you once more for tuning into my channel, and I'll be coming back again with another amazing episode. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Bye.